Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my updated Zhongli guide. So a new set just came out, Tenacity of the Millelith, in patch 1.5, and it is amazing, but Zhongli is a character who has a lot of nuance to him, and a lot has changed since the last Zhongli video, so I thought I should make an updated guide telling you every single thing you need to know regarding how to build him and how to play him. Zhongli does have quite a few different playstyles which I want to cover in depth in this video, so that you guys know exactly how to play him. Also, I want you to know I recorded the intro after all the other clips, so my voice is dead now, but it should be fine throughout the video. It's just that I was recently live, so my voice kind of died. Speaking of which, I do stream most nights on Twitch, link in the description if you're interested. If you're new, be sure to sub, but anyways, I don't want to waste your guys' time. Zhongli, best support in the game, or one of the best, and so let's get right into the video. First of all, I want to talk about Zhongli's talents, and then his playstyle, because there are two distinct ways of playing him, especially regarding his burst and his shield. And then after that, we're going to talk about his build, artifacts, and all that. First of all, I want to say his elemental skill is insane, one of the best abilities in the game. Basically, if you press it, it summons a Steely, but you should basically always hold it, because when you do, it creates a shield, and it summons a pillar as well. And what the shield does is it'll deal a bit of damage, and most importantly, not only will it act as a shield, obviously, and protect you with a lot of absorption against elemental and physical damage, but it will also decrease the resistance of opponents by 20%. Basically, this is just insane. The resistance of every single element of an opponent is reduced, which means this can replace everything. This can act as a Verdescent Venerer set, which is one of the best sets in the game, right? This reduces by 40% to one element, whereas Zhongli reduces 20% to every element. So it can sort of substitute that set, or like act as a Verdescent for every resistance. And on top of that, it's like a mini superconduct as well if your DPS is physical. So this resistance shred is just insane, and it makes Zhongli very powerful. The shield itself does have quite a lot of HP, but it does scale not only with talent level, obviously, but it does scale with your HP. So if you're building HP on Zhongli, your shield will be tankier. Your elemental burst summons a meteor on opponents. It petrifies them for up to 4 seconds, depending on your talent level. And it does do a lot of damage. However, the animation is quite long, and we'll get into that in a bit. His energy cost is pretty low, but Zhongli doesn't generate too many particles himself. So unless you're running him with another Geo character like Albedo or Ningguang, you won't always have your burst on cooldown. Your passive talents are pretty good. First of all, Resonant Waves basically just gives you more shield strength, and Dominance of Earth makes you scale off of max HP. This means that building HP, especially on like a Sans or on everything in some cases, does increase your damage for just about everything. And now for a really important section, I want to specify that there are two playstyles for Zhongli, two main ways of playing and building him. And this is really important so that you guys know which build to choose, and so that you can efficiently build them based on how you want to play them. So with that being said, the two main ways to play Zhongli are either as a pure shield bot, where you're only caring about maxing your shield, only using him for the shield and stacking HP so that it never dies, and another build where, yes, you still use shield, but you also invest highly into him so that he can do a lot of damage as a burst support. Now, I'm going to give the pros and cons for both. And first of all, I want to give a disclaimer. I love using Zhongli as a burst support. I find the meteor satisfying, and I invest highly into my units. So when I put good artifacts on him, he deals a ton of damage, and it is good. However, running a shield build, not only is it lower investment, but also the downside of using Zhongli's burst is that the animation is very long. The time it takes for Zhongli to drop a meteor on an enemy is quite long, and when you're min-maxing your DPS, it can be worse than if you were on your main DPS just attacking constantly. It can be less damage, especially if your Zhongli is not hyper invested. And I want to give that disclaimer because sometimes your burst isn't optimal, and I know some people love it and some people hate it. So I just want to explain both sides. You can run Zhongli on a pure HP build, stacking his shield and not caring about his burst, or you can invest him as a burst support and go for the damage on his meteor. Now, the most important thing for both of these is, one, you want to make sure your shield stays up, because as long as it's up, you do get that resistance shred. So when it dies, you do lose a lot of damage. Now, personally, I can keep it up even without HP artifacts, but for some people, it might be more difficult. On the other hand, your burst has a high scaling, which I enjoy, and petrifies enemies for a while, but it does, once again, have a long animation and requires more investment than just a pure shield build. And with that out of the way, let's talk about Zhongli's artifact sets. So a new artifact set just came out, which is great on Zhongli. For some reason, I have trouble pronouncing it, and I can't say Millelith correctly, but it is a great set for Zhongli and a great set for many characters, which we'll cover in separate videos. But basically the set, the 2-piece gives you HP, and the 4-piece will buff your whole party with attack percent. Millelith is just a good set. It looks like it was designed for Zhongli because you get HP and you use Zhongli more as a support than a damage dealer, whereas he's constantly buffing your team, especially if the pillar does a bunch of damage, right? What this set does is increase the attack percent of your whole team every time your elemental skill does damage. And the character wielding the set doesn't have to be on field. And that means that Zhongli's pillar can actually proc the set consistently. So because of that, this set looks really good for Zhongli, but again, it depends how you play him. I personally will be running the set, and I recommend it for just a support Zhongli. Now this set does have the drawback of dealing less damage on your Zhongli himself. Like your burst will deal less damage than if you were to run a 2 Petra, 2 Noblesse, but it does buff your team damage overall, so it is worth it. So I personally recommend the Millelith set on Zhongli. However, sets like Noblesse Oblige and Petra can still be good. Noblesse, you can run the 4-piece for your burst damage and to buff your whole team if you don't have another Noblesse user. You can also give them a 2-piece with like a 2-piece Petra if you're just trying to max your burst damage. So Millelith will give you more team damage, but 2 Petra, 2 Noblesse will be how to maximize your Zhongli's burst, and if you want your burst to deal big damage. And 4 Petra can still be good for the if you're running an elemental DPS. This is still a pretty good set. Now that we've been over the sets, let's talk about Zhongli's specific artifact stats. So I'm going to start by talking about shield bot Zhongli and then talk about burst support as usual. If you're building Zhongli as a shield bot, since his shield scales off HP and you care about literally nothing else, you can just stack HP on every single piece. Your shield does give you resistance shred, so keeping it healthy, keeping it up at all times is quite important. So if you are running that build, the only thing that matters is HP. If you're running Zhongli as a burst support, however, your sands can either be attack or HP. Attack gives you a bit more damage, but HP still gives you a bit of damage while buffing your shield as well. So I tend to recommend HP sands for burst support, but if you can keep your shield healthy all the time, if you're good at dodging and stuff, and your shield is always healthy, attack sands will give you more damage on your burst in general. Keep in mind, if you are running a Staff of Homa on Zhongli, I would recommend HP sands regardless. For your goblet, geo damage bonus will greatly increase your damage, so that's the way to go, and your circlet should be crit, either rate or damage, depending on what you need, trying to get a 1-to-2 ratio as always. For your substats, it's pretty straightforward. Crit rate, crit damage, attack percent are all great, and energy recharge can be nice too. Also, I want you guys to know that if you are using your burst on cooldown, you can just put HP sands and then build him like a burst support with the geo goblet and the crit circlet, even if you are running like a Millelith set. If you are full HP, however, like a shield bot, using your burst is usually a DPS loss unless you care about the petrify and stunning the enemies. This was kind of hard to explain, so a very quick recap. If you're using your burst on Zhongli, go for either HP or attack sands with geo and crit, go for max damage. If you're not really using your burst and you just care about your shield strength, go for HP on everything. Also, I want to mention, because I know I'm going to get asked this a lot, that even if you are using burst support Zhongli, even if you're spamming your burst, Tenacity of the Millelith is still what I recommend overall, unless you need like a Noblesse user or something, even if your Zhongli's burst does less than if you were to run 2 Noblesse, 2 Petra.
So now let's talk about Zhongli's weapons, and in this section we're going to cover everything. We're going to talk about best 5 stars, 4 stars, free-to-play options, and everything you need to know about his weapons. First of all, I want to split this into 2, as with most of the video, whether you're using him as a pure shield bot with a Millelith set or a burst support. Now, if you are just running him as a shield bot, it's pretty easy. You can run a black tassel on him just for the HP, and that can be good. You can also run Favonius if your team needs particles, because this effect generates white particles, and you can swap and catch them on whoever needs them. And lastly, Staff of Homa is a great staff. It gives you HP and a ton of damage if you need that, which is just Zhongli's best weapon overall. With that being said, let's talk about Zhongli's weapon ranking for a burst support, and I'm going to go into more detail here. So first of all, I want you guys to know that all of his 5 stars are really good. Well, all the 5-star polearms. Vortex Vanquisher and Jade Spear give you a bunch of stats. Skyward Spine is energy recharge with a high base attack, and Staff of Homa is his best weapon overall. Great stat stick, a ton of crit damage, decent base attack, gives you HP, and then more attack based on your HP. So this polearm is great, but obviously most people don't have a Homa, so here are the other options. Deathmatch is your best 4-star and what I usually run. This is the Battle Pass option, and the reason it's so good is because it has a great stat distribution, very high crit ratio, and a good effect. Now, the base stack is kind of low, but there's a lot of ways to make up for this. It's not that big of a deal, especially if you're on Zhongli with a Bennett or a Noblesse Oblige support, and then just give your Zhongli a bunch of attack. There are a bunch of other good weapons though. Zhongli has quite a few good polearms. For example, the Favonius Lance, even in a burst support build, is great, gives you energy recharge and that good effect, and on top of that, the base attack is very high. Lithic Spear can also be good, especially if you have a lot of leeway characters in your team, and the Blackcliff Pole is a similar weapon to Deathmatch, but a bit worse on Zhongli, because the effect is hard to proc, but it does give you some crit damage and a good base attack. Lastly, your free-to-play option for a burst support Zhongli would be the Prototype Star Glitter for the energy recharge and 42 base attack, making it a pretty decent free-to-play option.
In terms of constellations, we have none, and I think overall they're pretty overrated, but I will cover them just in case you have them or want to pull for them. As a disclaimer, I don't think any of them are worth pulling for. I know some are good and some can be convenient, some can be nice to have, but I don't think they're worth the money unless you really just want to and like the character. His C1 gives you 2 Steelies, which isn't a big DPS upgrade, but basically you get 2 pillars. And it can help with the Millelith set, but again, it's not that big of a deal. His C2 gives you a shield when you use your burst, which is good for comfy gameplay, but it is overhyped. Like it's nice, it's comfy, but it isn't needed at all because you can just hold your E and get the effect for the whole duration. Your C3 and 5 are talent level upgrades. 3 makes your shield stronger and 5 gives you more burst. C4 is nice for your burst, more AoE and a 2-second longer stun, which can be very nice. And your C6 makes your shield heal you. And overall his constellations are okay, but he's such a broken unit at C0 that he really doesn't need them to be good. Now for Zhongli's teams, this section is actually going to be pretty short. For every video, this section is either the most important one or just pretty straightforward. Luckily for Zhongli, he's just an insane unit that can't really go wrong. So as a support character, he can fit basically any team comp, and you should be building your team around your DPS. Let's say a Shao comp, let's say a Diluc comp, whatever. And Zhongli can usually just fit and once again, oftentimes be the best support in that team. There are very few teams that don't want Zhongli. He's basically always great. Universal resistance shred. If you do build him burst, he can deal some damage and petrify. If not, even just Millelith gives your whole team attack. His shield lets you be tanky and, as I said, shreds resistances, and he's just a great unit overall. So basically build your team around your DPS and Zhongli can usually fit. That being said, there are some teams that can make Zhongli shine. For example, if you're running another Geo character with him, like Albedo, like Ningguang, you can generate a ton of particles for Zhongli by using those Geo abilities, letting him spam his burst if you are a burst support. And one of the reasons why I love Zhongli so much with Shao and with, Geo characters is because he can shred resistances that Viridescent Venerer can't. So as you guys know, Viridescent Venerer, amazing set, can decrease the resistance of any element infused in Swirl. However, you can't swirl Anemo, you can't swirl Geo, like you can't reduce those resistances with this set, which makes him really good and one of the few ways to reduce Anemo res to give your Shao more damage. But yeah, overall, Zhongli is just amazing. Team comps build around your DPS, and Zhongli can usually fit as a shielder and a strong support. So now we're going to do a burst DPS showcase, and very quickly, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this, if I was going to do a support showcase, because I did one in the past, and the Millelith set isn't for a burst support, damage-focused Zhongli. However, I made a poll on YouTube, and almost everyone said to do it, and so we're going to do a short burst support Zhongli showcase. Probably just going to do Abyss 12 and a few bosses, just to show you guys the power of a burst support Zhongli. Oh, and also since Zhongli's a support, a lot of the showcase is going to be other characters being enabled by Zhongli, but it's mainly going to be Zhongli's burst showcase. But still, I'm going to showcase a Geo comp and stuff that work very well with Zhongli's shield, where he plays a crucial role. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. Be sure to follow me on Twitch and sub if you're new. And that being said, let's get right into the showcase. So overall, Zhongli is one of the strongest units in Genshin, probably the most broken support, and the new set in 1.5 makes him even better. It is a great set for a burst support and for a shield bot Zhongli, good for any playstyle, and just a great set for an already great character. I hope this guide was helpful. If there's anything I want to add, it'll be in a pinned comment, and I wish you guys good luck if you're pulling for Zhongli, because he's, as I said, an amazing unit and very fun to use, makes the game more comfy with a nice shield, and gives you much more damage. I have so many videos planned for 1.5, and Yanfei guide will come out kind of soon, hopefully. My plan is to do it either tomorrow or in 2 days, depending on whenever I can, and when I know all the info, because I don't want to just rush out a video without researching everything first. Anyways, that's about it for me. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be posting updates in my Discord and probably on YouTube, so stay tuned and subscribe if you want to. If you don't, that's okay too, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.